This is Columbia Morning with David Lile on News Talk 1400 KFRU.
As at least one caller pointed out, Freudian slip, I said Los Angeles Rams instead of St. Louis Rams. Either I'm hearkening back to the old days or foreshadowing the change that will happen in the next year or two, perhaps. Let's move on to the author of Creative Strategy Generation, using passion and creativity to compose business strategies that inspire action and growth. We want to welcome to our program Bob Caporale, who joins us now, president of Sequent Learning Networks, 20 years developing product, portfolio, business unit strategies for large international corporations, and he has written Creative Strategy Generation. Welcome to the program. Good morning. How are you?
Good morning. I'm doing great. How are you today?
Doing all right also. Give us some examples of how you have employed what you write about in Creative Strategy Generation in helping someone come up with great strategies that have helped their business.
Sure. So first I should tell you that for a living, I teach people how to help them with their strategies, right? So I teach people about business strategies and so forth, go into corporations and do training and that type of thing. So almost every day on a regular basis, I'm helping people to develop their strategies. And what I usually find is that I go into companies and they've hired us because, they have a whole group of people, maybe product managers or marketing managers, who are tasked with developing strategies for their products, their portfolios, but they just don't know where to start. And even though everyone's been taught about strategy in school, when you kind of get into the step-by-step process and really having to get down and do it, it's difficult for them. So what I do is I first and foremost teach them a step-by-step process how to do that, but I try and teach them a creative process so that they come out with something different. And that's kind of a high-level summary, but that's what I do.
Yeah, and one of the things I like is that you have to bring something else to this, and you bring in a love for music, and you write music, and so you're trying to help us to see, because I think of music and musicians as a creative side. When I think of a business side, I wouldn't think of them as being creative at the same side as an artist or a musician or a composer.
Well, that's just it, and a lot of people don't, and that's, I think, one of the things that makes developing strategies in a business setting maybe not so much fun for people, because they don't always see it as a creative process. And yet it very much is. When you think about what a creative process is, it's taking something out of your head, making it into a reality, and connecting with somebody. And that's exactly what a business strategy should do. I can't say that they all do that, but that's what it should do. And so that's why these things parallel so nicely.
Give us an example of how that would play out in real life. Are you mostly working with the businesses and companies that are dealing with trying to maybe come up with a new product or market a new product, or can it be in the idea world?
It really both. I would say most of our clients tend to be the larger corporations, kind of the Fortune 500 type companies, but we really work with companies large and small. And we usually work at the level of strategy where people are coming up with product strategies. So yeah, it's either taking an existing product line and trying to enhance it, or come up with the next big idea for the product line. So it's usually at that type of a level. And the way that I approach the process is really to say, look, there's 7 steps in a creative process for writing music, and these 7 steps are based on my own experiences with writing songs and composing and that type of a thing. And so what I do is I say, okay, if you can apply those 7 steps into the strategic process, using the regular strategic theory you've been taught in school, but actually using this 7-step process and apply that, then you can come up with a creative strategy. So, I can go through those steps, but that's essentially what the process consists of.
Well, let's look at one or two of those steps. I'll let you choose a step. I've got the book right in front of me, and I've looked at these steps, and I know what they are, but give me one where you think perhaps it is the biggest challenge when you step into a corporate boardroom or manager's meeting and say, consider this. Give me one of the steps.
Yeah, sure. So one of them that I think will resonate with creative people is a step called inspiration. Mm-hmm. And so just as an example, when we think about inspiration in music, we think about, there's something that's inspiring you to write a song. There's a feeling that you have, whether that's externally based, internally based. There's some feeling that makes you want to, put your fingers to the keyboard and create music. And so in a business setting, I use that same term of inspiration, but I say, what really should be inspiring you are your customers. And so even though that might sound cliche, if you think about business strategies, a lot of times businesses are motivated by, they want to grow, they want to get more profit, they want to get more sales. And so what ends up happening is their strategies fall a little bit flat because they're doing it all for themselves. So there's no inspiration there outside of their own motivation to grow.
Yeah.
And so what I try and encourage people to do in that step is to say, look outside of your company, look at what customers need, look at what the needs in the marketplace are, and get inspired by that, and that will inspire new ideas that will actually resonate with customers and connect with them. So that's one example.
Let me ask you this, because this is what I was thinking of as I was looking at your book and reading up and preparing for the interview. I thought, would you say, we've been rocked by certain things that have happened here in mid-Missouri over the last week plus because of things that have happened on the campus of the University of Missouri. There have been protests. We have lost a system president and also a chancellor of a campus because of certain things that have happened. As we look for answers and moving forward, it seems to me like we need a creative strategy to try to hear the voices, to be inspired, to try to come up with something that would not sell a product, but we have to sell the university again to a very skeptical public, and we have to do other things to try to right a ship so that all of the constituents, meaning students and staff members and professors, can get back together to try to achieve a similar goal. Would what you say address a situation like that in your opinion?
Well, sure. I mean, any situation like that, and I have to tell you, I'm not very close to it, so I don't want to speak on something I don't know much about. But I would tell you that, just from what I've heard and what I've read, any situation like that, of course, you need a strategy to as you say, right the ship and get things going in a direction that's going to be the right direction for everybody. And I would tell you that, any strategic process will help with that. A creative one, I think, will make it even that much better. And one of the things I think that can, kind of add to that particular situation, there's another step in the process that I call preparation. And a lot of people, think, again, with music, they think that, hey, creative ideas just pop out of the sky somewhere. And in fact, what really happens is that it comes from understanding music and your instrument and music theory, and there's many, many years that people spend studying those things before new ideas can come. And how I kind of translate that into business strategy or any strategy is that you have to understand what you're dealing with. You have to understand your foundational knowledge, and that's going to include some amount of research and data collection and really understanding all sides of the argument. I think in the situation that you just brought up, there really has to be a level of understanding of all sides of the argument before you put together a strategy. So that might be, one place to start.
Well, I appreciate you addressing that, and I understand that I'm not asking you to talk specifically about it, but one of the things I really like about what you say and about what I think we could take away from this and bring into certain situations is just the use of the word creative, because I don't think we sometimes focus on the creative side of strategies or solving problems. I think we kind of hunker down and we don't. Creative to me is a freeing word in many ways.
It is, and I think, there's two parts of creativity the way that I see it. And the first part is really coming up with something new. And I think most people think about creativity that way. Mm-hmm. But that's not all of it, because if you come up with something new, but it doesn't connect with somebody, then it's not going to be successful. It's not going to resonate. So the second part of creativity, which I think is even more important, arguably, is something that actually resonates with somebody, something that connects with somebody. And that's, I think, where a lot of strategy falls down. You can come up with some new ideas, but if nobody cares about them, or if it doesn't solve a problem, or if it doesn't resonate with your audience, then it's going to be fruitless. And so that's the second part that I think really people need to focus on.
Well, that's a way that we will end today. That's good. And I'm thinking about also in the field of music, like you were making that connection. If you write music and you say, I think this is really great, and you're the only one who thinks it's great as the composer of it, and it doesn't connect with anybody else, then you don't have anything that people are going to listen to.
That's exactly right. And I believe me, I've done that plenty of times.
Well, I'm not a musician.
I try and go the other way whenever I can, which is connect. And the way to do that, by the way, is understand what people want, understand what they're listening to, understand what makes them tick. And then when you get that, then you can create music that really will resonate with them, and everybody's happier. So that's the where I try and go.
Creative strategy generation, using passion and creativity to compose business strategies that inspire action and growth. New book by Bob Caporale, who's been our guest. Thank you very much for your time today.
Thank you, David. It's a pleasure.
Been nice to talk to him on this rainy Tuesday, brighten us up with the opportunity to bring some creativity to our problem solution solving challenges today. It's News Talk 1400.